Hello and welcome. So before I actually start the video, this is I need your feedback on some of this. Like this first 10 minutes, or it's probably going to be more like 15 minutes because I got to add an EOC tutorial at the end, which I haven't gotten around to finishing. But it's like, should I have this part at the beginning? Like, this is stuff that you should know about the fight kiln before you actually start doing the fight kiln. So I'm not sure if I should have this first 10-minute part before the 1-2-37, or should I have it after and just link it in an annotation. I'll repeat this towards the end. This is quite a lot of information, so I'm looking forward to what you guys have to say. So onto the actual video. Hello and welcome. So this is an temporary guide to the fight kiln, since this method may get patched in the future. If it does get patched, I'll leave an annotation on screen as well as a link in the description to an updated guide. On screen I have a table of contents for various parts of the video to make it easier to hop between specific waves or subsections of the video. I have the subsections of the video first, covering things like what to bring in your inventory, what armor and familiar is beneficial to bring. Then there's like flinching Jads if you have trouble prayer switching on Jad, and which waves to be careful on. The first part of the video consists of things you should know before entering the fight kiln. If you follow this guide, you should be able to get to Hargan without using any food or prayer. The monsters always spawn in the same exact location, depending on which wave you're on, which makes the fight kiln very predictable. Now of course you can use food and prayer if you want. Prayer helps speed up the kiln, protection prayer helps negate damage, and food can be used in emergency to keep you alive. But in this guide I won't use any food. I use some protection prayer during the fight kiln, but only at Jads and Harkin. Now at the moment I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, but the Constitution Crystal makes Harkin extremely easy. Feel free to click on the annotation on screen to see what has changed about Harkin. Basically, at the moment, the Constitution Crystal boosts you up to 11,000 HP-ish and keeps healing you non-stop for 3.5 minutes each. So as you can see in the video clip on the right, I am taking damage, but I'm also healing it back right away from the Constitution Crystal. So later in the video, I'll have which crystals you want to keep and in which order you want to prioritize them. Now, saving 3 Constitution Crystals for Harkin will make it much more relaxed when you're fighting him. So pre-EOC fight kiln is not much different from the current EOC fight kiln. The only notable difference is that prayer is not required. And here's a few examples. The most notable is the large 156 mages, which were the level 400 mages before. You can tank them pretty easy in D-height. This is not a bug, this was most likely intentional to put more emphasis on armor and less on prayer. The only difference from the old to new is the method to use how to kill Harkin. Besides those two, the steps are pretty much the same. So now on to what you should know. In the EOC, protection prayers only protect 50% of the damage received, except against Jads, Tormented Demons, and the Warp Gulliga in Dungeoneering. This is how they're meant to be fought. If you use the right protection prayer, you're relatively safe against them. Now if you have trouble prayer switching on Jad, feel free to look at the flinching guide. I'll have an annotation on screen, and it's listed in the table of contents as well as in the description below. So the Jads in the fight kiln are a bit different from the ones fought in the fight caves. The Jads in the kiln will hit 1 to 100 through your protection prayer, but they were like this before the EOC, and with proper use of defense abilities now, health points should not really be an issue in the fight kiln. I'll be adding a basic EOC combat tutorial for the fight kiln in this video to try to make it as simple to understand as possible. Now for this guide, I'm using level 50 to 65 defense armor and level 50 to 60 weapons to show that it is doable without higher level gear such as neck sets, chaotics, or any really expensive gear. With this gear, it's relatively cheap. Total cost of gear and supplies is around 500k or under. But of course, if you have better gear, bring better gear. If you have any questions on gearing up on what to bring in your inventory, what to have in your familiar, check out the annotation on screen, or there's a link in the description as well, or just find it on my channel. So in my previous guide, people asked what are the recommended levels for the fight kiln. Now my general rule was usually if you can't complete the quest, you can complete the kiln. But if I had to give a guess for recommended levels, I would say 10 HP at least for regenerate, which heals 40% of your HP over time, but is only usable out of combat. So it's good to use in between waves where you're out of combat. Now all of these are just recommended levels. It's doable with lower stats. It's just that with these, it can really help for certain situations. 48 to 52 defense would be useful. Level 48 defense for Resonance, which is very helpful for healing against Jads. Level 52 defense for Rejuvenate, which heals 40% of your HP and is usable while in combat. And lastly, having 81 range or 86 strength can be very beneficial against Hurricane. 81 range would be for Unload and 86 strength would be for Frenzy. So both of these deal percentage HP against the target, so this can be very beneficial when killing Hurricanes, Jads, or even just the large 156 mages. Now Unload requires a normal crossbow and any other offhand crossbow. They don't have to match. And Frenzy requires a normal melee weapon with any offhand melee weapon. They don't have to match as well. And since these ultimate deal percentage HP, the only difference with higher level weapons is the accuracy. The damage can miss, so bring good offensive weapons. Another thing about the fight kiln is you can take breaks in between waves. You can log to the lobby, and when you log back in, you'll start on the wave after the last one that you finished. So for example, if you're on wave 28 and want to watch a part of the guide or take a break, click to log to the lobby. You'll be prepped with a warning, and then if you click it again, it'll make you log right away, but then you'll start at the beginning of the wave. So in this example, I finished wave 27 already. I did not complete wave 28, so when I log in, I start at wave 28. This can be useful if you need to rewatch a certain part of a guide or take a break, but a thing to remember is it won't always automatically log you out, so just to make sure and not waste time, when you're trying to lobby, just spam click the log to lobby button just to make sure that you actually get logged out. Also, when you log back in, you always spawn in the middle of the room south of the middle rock, so when navigating yourself, make sure you check which way is north when you log back in. Now, for those of you who have questions on what to bring in your inventory, what gear is best for your stats, and what prayers or potions to bring, click on the annotation on screen. I mentioned this earlier in the video, but this usually answers most questions people have. As for curses versus normal prayers, curses is better if you have 92 prayer for soul split. If you don't have 92 prayer, it's probably better to just stick with normal prayers. For prayer potions, you only need 1 to 3 if you plan to prayer switch for Jad, and another 2 to 3 if you plan to use prayer at Harkin, but it's not required, but it does help. In this guide, I didn't sip any prayer potions except for 1 sip throughout the entire kiln, but I had 2 restoration crystals left over, so I could have used that instead of sipping the prayer potions. For offensive potions like Overload, you need around 3 flasks. If you do not have Overload, I would suggest not bringing any offensive pots, except possibly one exception, maybe bring 1 super attack for Frenzy or a ranging potion for Unload. Since these ultimates are based on percent health, the only thing you have to worry about is increasing your accuracy. So bringing 1 super attack or ranging potion can really help for killing Hurricane. Now onto a very important part of the fight kiln is the crystals. These crystals are dropped after completing every odd number wave. There are 3 main crystals you want to focus on getting, and I have these in order of which is more important. So if you have to decide which crystals to keep for whatever reason, this should help figure out which one is better. So the most important crystal is the Constitution Crystal, then Invulnerability Crystal, and lastly Restoration Crystal. And all these are worth more than a shark and a brew, so if you need space, just eat a shark or chug a brew to pick these up. So the Constitution Crystal boosts your max HP to around 11k HP points and keeps it there for 3.5 minutes. Although a warning is you cannot use other crystals while another is active. So for example, if you have a Constitution Crystal active, you can't use another crystal until it wears off. But logging to the lobby and logging back in clears any active crystal effects on you. If some information about the fight kiln changes, I'll leave an annotation on screen as well as a note in the description below. And I just want to note that you want to have as many of these Constitution Crystals before you actually fight Hurricane. Now the next most important crystal is the Invulnerability Crystal. This really helps for wave 35 where if you didn't have it, you would take quite a lot of damage. It makes you immune to almost any attack. This doesn't apply for the Dill special attack, but any other damage is completely negated for 30 seconds. And since this crystal lasts for 30 seconds, during that 30 seconds you're not able to use any other crystals until it wears off. And the third crystal you want to make sure you have is the Restoration Crystal. It restores your HP and prayer to full instantly. Since this is a one-off heal, you can use other crystals right after since the Restoration Crystal is just a one-off crystal. I would suggest saving this for Jads or Harkin in case you need to heal your HP very quickly. So a question I got a lot in my previous guide was what waves should you look for the crystals you want to pick up. So I've listed them here. Invulnerability Crystal is dropped after completing wave 1, 13, 25. Restoration crystals are dropped after completing wave 3, 15, 27. And Constitution crystals are dropped after completing wave 11, 23, and 35. Now remember, these are worth more than a shark or brew. So if you don't have space to pick it up, just eat a shark or chug a brew to clear up some space. Now, there are other types of crystal that can be potentially useful for Harken, but requires a bit more knowledge to work around the side effects of it, such as the Mage and Range crystal. The Mage crystal boosts your magic by 50% of your magic level, which is very good with Polypore and Storm of Armor because the damage scales with magic level, but the crystal also lowers your defense by 50%. A range crystal boosts your range level by 50% of your level, which can be useful for increasing your accuracy when using Unload against Harken, but also lowers your defense by 50%. Now this comes down to, is the decreased defense worth the increased offense? With the lowered defense, you have to use a Restore each time you want to use Rejuvenate because the crystal keeps lowering your defense each 5 seconds, and Rejuvenate has a 52 defense requirement to use. So I'll need some time to test these crystals out, but if you're just going for the cape, I would suggest to not pick up the range and mage crystal and just go for the conservative approach with the constitution crystal. And the last crystal that I have not mentioned yet is the strength crystal, and it sucks, don't pick it up. Okay, so this is what I have so far. Then I would have added a basic EOC tutorial to the fight kill, where basically you just want to prioritize using the abilities on the left hand side. And then if you want to do damage, you would use the thresholds. Offensive abilities should only be used on the 400 mages, Jads, and Harken. It's probably a waste to use ultimates on like the rangers or the lower level monsters. Then after this, I would add the flinching guide for those who have difficulty prayer switching, and this would work for wave 10, 20, 30, 34. Then I would have to add an alternative to wave 35, which people, yeah, there's a good amount of people who needed a separate way to do wave 35, because my way, it's kind of complex, but it's the safest, but there are people who would rather take more simpler steps and take more damage. And then after all of this, I would be able to get started on adding wave 1 to 37. So what I wanted to ask you guys, like, I'm definitely going to put all this information in, but should I put it at the start of the video before 1 to 37? Or should I put it after 1 to 37 and have it at the end? So my goal is to have everything into one video. Like, if you have this question, okay, this other part of the video will answer that, and just have it cover all the bases, except for the annotation video on what to bring in your inventory, because I already have that set up, and if I were to put that into this video, that would take like an extra hour to set up the annotations for that to mimic the other video. So that's kind of the question I have for you guys. Do you think I should put this 10-minute part before the 1 to 37 or after? If I have it in the beginning, then some people who come for just the 1 to 37 guide, they're probably gonna not see that the 1 to 37 comes later in the video. And if I just have this 10-minute part at the end, then some people are just gonna completely miss out on that. So I'm not sure what I should do. So I'm kind of asking you guys, what do you think would be best? And yeah, I guess that's it for this video. I look forward to your feedback. As always, thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.